landscapes of bewitching beauty. Unique, species-rich, exemplary. Habitats remain intact only because humans use and shape them. A new pact with nature. Way up in northern Norway, just below the polar circle, people have always had to scrape a living out of the austere natural world. For a few months every year, the Vega archipelago here is also home to wild eider ducks. They have entered into a unique alliance with humans. The fishermen and farmers cultivate the small islands and protect the eider ducks, in order later to harvest the feather down from the nests once the birds have left. But this unparalleled symbiosis of man and animal is now under threat. Can the Norwegians find a way into the future? At the beginning of April, the eider ducks return to the polar circle from their winter quarters in southern Norway. The males, with their black and white markings, and the inconspicuous speckled brown females, often travel in large flocks. In the coming months, they will search for food in the shallow coastal waters for themselves and their young. But their breeding places on land are largely unprotected, and their enemies are lurking close by and set up duck houses.
Skal vi bare I gang igjen? Vi tar litt til. Høyre plasser.
The island shows how difficult it is to keep up the eider duck tradition.
In the 60s, there were still nearly 2,000 eider ducks breeding here. Then it fell to 50 or 60 ducks at times. By then, we were the only ones that still had duck nests. All the others had stopped.
That endangered a unique tradition. So unique, in fact, that in 2004, the United Nations declared the Vega archipelago a World Heritage Site. The archipelago is named after its main island, Vega. This is where most people live. There are streets, cars and shops, but no eider ducks. There's too much disturbance from the 1,200 inhabitants, and too much danger from cats, imported minks and other predators. So the eider ducks nest at a distance, on one of the 6,500 or so small and tiny islands in the archipelago. At one time, by now the wild ducks are like close acquaintances, very much so in some cases. Hildegunn and the other guardians have noticed that some of the ducks return to the same little huts or nesting boxes year after year.
We have two eider ducks which always arrive together, year after year, on the same day. They nest over there, right next to each other, and they leave again with their chicks at the same time. We think they're sisters who stick together. We call them the veranda ladies.
Eider ducks can live to be 25, and some of them really do have distinct personalities of their own.
Last year, 10 ducks brooded here in the shed. One of them is quite special. One year we noticed that one duck had more and more eggs in her nest. We watched her and saw how she went to the other nests and stole eggs. She'd take the egg in her beak, carry it to her own nest, and lay it under her. After that, we called her Spiteful Sarah. In May, I keep looking to see if Spiteful Sarah is back. As soon as she arrives, she digs a hollow to mark out where she wants to brood. Then she'll come back after a day or two and lay an egg. Then I know Spiteful Sarah is back.
Just when the waterfowl will occupy their nests, the people can never predict, even after all these years. They see small groups of ducks gathering off their island, but they don't come ashore yet. Then, in early May, in the middle of the night, the time has come. They gather in large groups off the island. The archipelago is no longer as rewarding as it used to be.
It's declined a lot. There are only 4 or 5 fishermen now. Those who fish the whole year round, and me, who does it as an additional income. It really got very difficult.
Why are the fish stocks dwindling? One man is researching the causes. Hartvig Christie is a marine biologist from the Norwegian Institute for Water Research. He's been studying the ecosystems on the coasts of Norway for decades. Every year, he and his colleagues dive in the underwater world of the Vega archipelago. He's especially interested in how the kelp forests develop in the shallow waters. "50 years ago, kelp forests still covered a considerable part of the seabed around Vega. They are among the world's most productive ecosystems. Because of their biodiversity, they're sometimes called the rainforests of the seas. They are the nursery for many species of fish. But in the 1970s, in what's now the World Heritage region, dramatic changes took place. The green sea urchin spread rapidly in the archipelago within a few years, for reasons still unknown. One reason why life on the small islands has changed so drastically since Øystein the fisherman was a child here. Back then, there were still 70 people living on his Husvær group of islands. There was a shop, a post office, even a school attended by the children from the surrounding islands. Nowadays, Husvær is like a ghost town. Derelict boathouses. The tiny school stands empty. And there's been nothing to buy in the shop for a long while. When Øystein tells how he used to help carry the food deliveries from the jetty to the shop with half a caramel toffee as his reward, it's a story from a bygone age for his grandchildren. It wasn't only the young people who left for larger towns and cities.
It was a total collapse. Also because the Norwegian state decided the islands should no longer be inhabited. Everyone should go. There were fewer and fewer people. In the end, there was only one neighbor who lived over there, and my mother, my father, and me. Then in 1988, my parents and the neighbor moved to the mainland. There was only me left.
It looks like the end for the ancestral way of life, with all its traditions, and for the landscape as well. But there is still hope. Gisle Ebbesen and his wife Turid run a farm with dairy cows on the main island. Like most of the inhabitants there, they didn't care about the life and culture outside in the archipelago for the longest time. Only when the area attained the status of a UNESCO World Heritage Site did they realize that the traditions and landscape here were unique in the world. Together with their daughter Henrietta, they're an example of new generations who are once again venturing out to the small islands. Like all the islands here, Stora Emersøy has been in private ownership for centuries. In 2006, Turid and Gisle contacted the owner and offered to take care of the only remaining house on the island. The former farmhouse had stood empty for decades and was in a pitiful state. Turid and Gisle began to repair it and made plans for a new incarnation. Without further ado, they decided to turn it into a living museum, offering visitors a journey through time back to the 19th century.
At first, we were only looking for a holiday cottage for us. But once we had the chance to buy the island, we decided to make it a place that showed how people lived here in the past.
The World Heritage status was the starting signal. That was in 2004.
It was a hard life out here in the past. That culture has rather fallen into oblivion. So we want to try and bring it to light again, so that the people who live here will be better appreciated.
When Gisela plays the Northland anthem on the old organ, it's also a sign of the pride that people are rediscovering in their culture.
Ja. Det var jo kjempebra.
Inspirert av mamma og pappa som for rundt på øyene og
My parents gave me the inspiration, since they often took me out to the islands. I helped bring the cows and sheep out. I collected gull and goose eggs with my father. That's a lasting influence. I'd like to make my contribution. I want what's here to have a future.
For jeg ser mulighetene med.
So 22-year-old Henrietta is set on being the youngest duck guardian in the archipelago. For the first time in decades, nesting boxes for eider ducks are being set up on this island again. How long it will take, though, for the ducks to come back, she doesn't know. In the course of May and June, the days get longer, the sun is warmer, and the wildflowers burst into bloom. On the main island, with its fertile soil, agriculture is in full swing. The wetlands on the main island and the broad shallows in the archipelago are a paradise for seabirds. It's the time when most species, like the oyster catchers and the common gulls, give birth to their young. With acrobatic aerial maneuvers, sea swallows pursue their prey. The warm sun invites common ringed plovers to enjoy a bathe in the sea. And under the watchful eyes of their parents, the fledglings of the Eurasian golden plover go exploring. The 21st of June never really gets dark. High summer out on the small islands. Safe and sound in their man-made refuges, the offspring of the eider ducks announce their arrival. The female spends up to 4 weeks incubating her eggs. In that time, she's hardly left the nest and has lost more than 1/3 of her body weight. When the chicks are finally hatched, they're kept warm in the nest until their plumage is dry. The duck guardians on Lornan are especially vigilant at this time. Hildegunn and the others do the rounds of the animals every day. Of the 1,200 nests, they check the ones where the ducks are still inside. The ducks are used to Hildegunn and aren't disturbed by her visit. They even seem to understand that, far from being a threat, the humans are there to look after them. The young eider ducks are now facing the most dangerous phase of their lives, the unprotected trek to the sea. The great black-backed gull is an omnivore and is just waiting to prey upon the young animals. As is the sea eagle, circling above. But sometimes the duck guardians have to intervene more directly. These ducklings have become separated from their mother. Together with her grandchildren, who are here for a week, Hildegunn tries to give the little waterfowls a second chance. She makes a new nest for the ducklings in a duck house, in the hope that the little ones can be safe here for the time being. Then perhaps an adult duck might hear the ducklings' cries and adopt them. Eider ducks are very social animals and often share the job of looking after their young.
It's actually better if we don't get involved, but sometimes we just have to. It takes some time before the young are big enough and the gulls can't catch them.
One duck after another leads her offspring down to the sea. They won't return to the nests until next year. Now the families on Lånan set about their harvest. From the empty nests, they collect the down that the mother ducks had used to line them. First it's dried, shaken and roughly cleaned, and then carefully plucked clean once again. On calm days, everywhere on Lånan, the people sit outside their houses, always with a ball of down in their hands. First, they take care of their own harvest. The last step is then often done as teamwork. The fine down remains caught on what's known as the down harp. Dirt and bigger feathers are sieved off. This works because of the tiny barbs in the structure of eider down, which hold it together. They're also responsible for its exceptional insulation capacity. It's not just the down that comes from Lånan, but the end products as well. Duvets, pillows and gloves are handmade by Hildegunn. And that comes at a price, of course. A down pillow costs 400 euros. A duvet, 6,000 euros. The down harvested by all the families on Lånan, despite the high price, all the duvets are already sold in advance before the season begins. The duck guardians have only earned such princely sums. Fisherman Øystein and his partner Snifrid also enjoy the days of summer. When there's little wind, they too sit outside in the sun and clean the down. But their harvest is only a fraction of what Hildegunn and the others on Lånan bring in. Their down doesn't go to the outside world, but to friends and family every year. Øystein has never earned much money from the ducks. His main work is as a fisherman and farmer, and summer is the time of the traditional haymaking. On his rocky islet, that means hard manual labor. The hay is the winter fodder for his sheep. This traditional form of cultivation has shaped the landscape of the archipelago. Islands that are not grazed or... Meanwhile, on the island of Stora Emersøy, Turid and Gisela's daughter Henrietta is looking to the future. She spends part of the summer all alone on her parents' small island. It's her project.
I've long dreamed of living out here, to find out what it's like to live here. Then a job offer from the World Heritage Centre on Vega enabled me to live here, earn money and look after the eider duck nests.
An important part of her job is to campaign for life out here. She's documenting her summer project with her video camera, taking photos, and producing a sort of diary on social media. She also presents her main purpose, attracting the eider ducks to live here again. For the first time in decades, new duck houses are being set up again on this island. Even though only 2 of the 27 new nesting boxes are being used in this first year, Henrietta sees her project as a success.
It's about making young people aware, showing them that a young woman here wants to maintain the tradition of the islands. They should see that you can come here to work with the eider ducks.
The houses on the island that are regularly occupied have much more in the way of comfort. But comfort is not what Henrietta is looking for. It's exciting for the 22-year-old to find out how well she can cope this far from civilization. But when the weather's bad and she's confined to the house, the days are very long.
It's been hard. It's been lonely. It's been good. I've got to know myself. And I've discovered how I have to live to get through the days well. I've tried to keep busy, and that worked well. I've really enjoyed it.
Fortunately, time and again, summer in northern Norway shows its warm and pleasant side. Then the archipelago just asks to be explored. It's spectacularly beautiful, so Henrietta just can't understand why more people aren't attracted out here. Sustainable tourism would also help the islanders to make a living. That's not easy here. Henrietta's job is just for this one summer. Boats now regularly bring tourists to Lonan, at least. Then most of the island inhabitants gather at the jetty to welcome the visitors. They're almost exclusively day trippers in summer who want to see for themselves what has raised the Vega archipelago to the status of a World Heritage Site. People are only allowed to visit the islands when no ducks are nesting there. Strangers would be too much for the animals, and at worst the ducks could leave their nests and never come back. So tourists have to settle for a short demonstration of nest maintenance. But the next attraction is already waiting. In a converted hayloft, there are stories from the history of the island.
De visste jo ikke om de var kommet fram, om de hadde fått gitt noe beskjed, og rullet opp hele motstandsbevegelsen på Helgeland. De likviderte jo...
And homemade down products.
Flere av de andre i det de kalte for Oladalens venner, var vel den gjengen kalte seg for.
The tourist business has become an important economic mainstay. The down harvest alone is not enough to provide a living, especially on the other small islands in the archipelago, which have far fewer eider ducks. Nevertheless, Hildegunn and her husband Eric are pleased when the tourist boat casts off and peace and quiet return. Even if the peace sometimes brings with it concern for the future.
It's hard to predict what...
It needs young people as well to involve themselves in the life of this beautiful but remote and lonely region, if this unique symbiosis between people and animals is to survive. And with it, the landscape that's shaped by it. People need prospects for this unparalleled natural paradise to have a future.
If there was some way of staying here and working with the eider ducks, if there was a permanent job, I'd jump at it. But it's not that easy.